Hello, good day. How are you today? You're good, right? Okay, so are you ready for today's lesson? You are? That is good. So today, in agricultural science, we are going to be learning about classification of pests. Okay? Our topic for today in agricultural science is on classification of pests. Okay, so we are prepared for today's lesson, right? That's good. So first, we are going to be looking at the meaning of pest. Pests in agricultural science are organisms that can cause harm or damage to crops, livestock, or agricultural ecosystems. They can negatively impact agricultural production. Pests include insects, fungi, bacteria, viruses, weeds, and other organisms. Okay? Pests in agriculture are unwanted creatures that can harm or damage crops, animals, or the farming environment. They can be insects, diseases, weeds, or other organisms that make it harder for farmers to grow healthy plants and raise animals. Okay, so now we know the meaning of pest, right? Pests are unwanted creatures that can cause harm or damage crops, animals, or the farming environment. Okay, so now we are going to be looking at the different types of pests we have. Types of pests. Okay, pests can be grouped into three main categories. One, we have insect pests. These are insects that damage crops or stored agricultural products. Examples include aphids, caterpillars, and beetles. So these are bugs that can eat or harm plants. Okay? Second, we have pathogens. These are microorganisms that cause diseases in plants, animals, or humans. In agriculture, they can affect crops and livestock. Examples include fungi, bacteria, and viruses. The pathogens are disease pests. They are tiny things like germs, the bacteria, viruses, or fungi that can make plants or animals fall sick. They make animals or plants sick. Okay? Third, we have weeds. Weeds are unwanted plants that compete with crops for resources like water and nutrients. Weeds are unwanted plants that grow where they are not supposed to and compete with crops for nutrients and space. These are the three main categories of pests. Remember, pests are unwanted creatures that can harm or damage crops. They can harm or damage crops, animals, or the farming environment. So these categories of pests, they damage or harm crops, animals, or the farming environment. The types of pests we said are insect pests, pathogens, and weeds, right? Good. So now we know the meaning of pests, types of pests. We are going to be looking at classification of pests based on mouth parts. Okay? Classification of pests based on mouth parts. Pests can be sorted by how they eat. There are three main groups. First, we have the chewing pests. These pests have mouth parts designed for biting and chewing. They often leave visible damage on plant leaves or other parts. Examples include caterpillars and grasshoppers. So these pests have mouths made for biting and chewing, like the caterpillars and grasshoppers. They have mouths made for biting and chewing. Second, we have sucking pests. These pests have mouth parts that allow them to pierce the plant or animal and suck out fluids. Aphids and mosquitoes are examples of sucking pests. Some pests have mouth parts for piercing and sucking. Okay, so some pests have mouths for piercing and sucking plants or animals. Third, we have boring pests. These pests have mouth parts suitable for boring into plant stems, roots, or wood. They cause damage by creating tunnels. Examples include certain beetles and borers. Some pests have mouths for boring into plants or wood, creating tunnels. Okay, so pests in agriculture come in different forms, and one way to understand them is by looking at their mouth parts and how they eat. We have learned that there are three main groups of pests based on their mouth parts. The chewing pest. These pests have mouths for biting and chewing, causing visible damage to plants. Then the sucking pest. These pests have mouths for piercing and sucking, which can make plants or animals sick. We also mentioned the boring pest. These pests have mouths for boring into plants or wood, creating tunnels. We now know classification of pests based on mouth parts, right? So next, we are going to be looking at classification of pests based on location. Classification of pests based on location. Pests can also be grouped based on where they cause trouble on the farm. Field pests. These pests are typically found in agricultural fields and directly affect crops growing in the open. So the field pests, these are pests that live in the open fields and damage crops directly. Okay? Two, we have storage pests. These pests infest stored agricultural products such as grains, fruits, and vegetables. So the storage pests, they bother stored crops, crops that are stored. Okay? Third, we have livestock pests. Pests that primarily affect farm animals, including ticks, mites, and certain flies. So these are pests that affect farm animals. Okay, the livestock pests are pests that affect farm animals. Fourth, we have structural pests. These pests can damage farm infrastructure like barns, silos, or farmhouses. Examples include termites and rodents. So the structural pests, they damage farm buildings and structures, okay? They damage farm buildings and structures. So we have learned that there are four main categories of pests based on their location. The field pest. These pests live in open fields and can directly damage crops as they grow. The storage pest. These pests infest and harm stored crops, right? Then we talked about the livestock pests. These pests bother farm animals and can affect their health and well-being. Then the structural pests, they cause damage to farm buildings and structures. So we understood classification of pests based on location, right? Good. Today's lesson on pests, we have learned about pests. That pests are unwanted creatures that can harm or damage crops, animals, or the farming environment, right? We learned that these pests, they can be classified based on their mouth parts and also based on location, right? Then we also talked about the types of pests. So we understood today's lesson on pests, right? Good. So today we are done with pests, okay? So we are going to be looking at our assignments. I'm sure we are going to be able to answer them, right? Because it's what we studied and that's good.